Hello, my name is Ioanna Pagoni and I would like to welcome you to the lecture regarding mobility as a service for tourist mobility. First of all, let me introduce you the contents of this lesson. We will start with a short description of mobility as a service, while we will continue with the potential contribution of MaaS to tourist mobility. Then I will present you some key insights from the MaaS4EU project, which was a Horizon 2020 project, and I will end with my presentation with some lessons learned regarding tourist preferences for MaaS, challenges for implementing mobility as a service, as well as some recommendations in order to implement a successful MaaS scheme in tourist destinations. So let's start with the definition of MaaS. MaaS is a relatively new mobility concept that started in 2015 in Sweden. The main idea behind it is to offer travelers mobility solutions based on their travel needs. There is an integrator who is called the MaaS operator and brings together offerings of multiple mobility service providers that are available in the region, both traditional modes such as public transportation and taxis, as well as emerging mobility services such as car sharing, bike sharing, ride hailing, etc. MaaS can also include non-mobility services in order to improve travelers' experience and increase their satisfaction. All the above are offered to the travelers through a single mobile application where they can plan their trips, they are provided with real-time information regarding the mobility services in the region, and they can seamlessly book and pay for their mobility. But why MaaS has received such an attention by researchers, practitioners and public administrators? Because it can offer several benefits both for customers and involve businesses as well as for the transportation system. As for the customers, MaaS provides them access to all available mobility services of a destination only through a single mobile application. In addition, it makes personalized recommendations regarding their travel based on their preferences and needs. Concerning the businesses, MaaS gives them the opportunity to have access to new customers through their entrance in new markets for transport services and their collaboration with other mobility service providers. Finally, mobility as a service is expected to benefit the transport system as a whole as it contributes to the effective use of public transport and its integration with new mobility services, including active mobility. Mobility as a service is also envisaged to achieve a shift away from personal cars and towards mobility provided as a service. Let's see now who are the customers of mobility as a service. These can be commuters, people that are traveling daily for their work, but also tourists that might use the mobility services of a destination for the first time and for a limited period of time. They can also be businesses where the company can buy some mobility as a service packages to offer improved mobility services to its employees. Why are they so important? Because customers are at the heart of the MaaS ecosystem as it is designed to account for people's needs and preferences. Now let's see how MaaS, mobility as a service, can contribute to tourist mobility. Transport mode is an important component of the tourist travel choice. Our experience indicates that many tourists are using public transport and bicycles to move around the destination. However, what we have seen is that when they visit a destination for the first time, they might have limited knowledge about the available transport option, the respective prices and other characteristics such as frequencies, timetables, etc. Thus, they often end up using their personal cars or renting cars at the destination for doing their trips. MaaS can significantly contribute towards more sustainable tourist mobility as it can address the above particularities. It can help the visitors to better plan their entire trip, also plan before their trip, but also during their trip. It provides them with multiple mobility options, differentiated by mode, time and cost. Finally, the visitors can have everything regarding their trips, the journey planning, the booking, the ticketing and the payment in a single mobile application. In addition, they can get the tickets for non-mobility services. So, for example, they can book their travel from the airport to the city, but also get tickets for other events, for cultural happenings inside the city. Until today, there are several MaaS applications around Europe, as indicated in this map. Some indicative examples include WIM, which has been implemented in Helsinki, in Antwerp, in Birmingham. We have Ubico, which was the first application of MaaS in Gothenburg, while other examples include Trafi, Transit App, and City Mapper. Of course, there are even more applications of MaaS around Europe, either as commercial services or as part of research projects and initiatives. In this presentation, I will present some key findings from the MaaS4EU project, which was funded by the Horizon 2020 program of the European Commission. This project had 17 partners. It lasted almost 3.5 years, and the aim was to provide evidence, frameworks and tools to enable MaaS in Europe, addressing challenges under 4 main pillars: business and users, technology and policies. As part of MaaS4EU, we demonstrated MaaS in 3 regions: Greater Manchester, Budapest and Luxembourg. These regions share different characteristics in terms of geography and mobility, while different business models of MaaS were also examined in the project. Apart from local residents, in Greater Manchester and in Budapest, the project investigated the needs of tourists regarding mobility as a service. As part of the project, we applied both qualitative and quantitative data collection methods to prepare for MaaS implementation. We engaged stakeholders through workshops and personal interviews, while we also engaged end users through focus groups and questionnaire surveys. As I already said, we also observed the real reactions of stakeholders and end users through the MaaS demonstration in 3 cities of the project. Through this process, we were able to explore the challenges for MaaS implementation, as well as the people's preferences and choices regarding MaaS. The main lessons learned that we had from the project are related to the end users, where we were able to see which services should be included in a MaaS package, how much they are willing to pay, and what are the challenges to engage tourists towards MaaS. In addition, we identified the main challenges for MaaS implementation, and based on the above, we were able to provide recommendations on how to implement a successful MaaS scheme in touristic destinations. The first finding regarding end user is that people who are already exposed to multiple transport modes and already use mobile applications for their mobility would be more willing to use mobility as a service. In addition, it was found that young people are more likely to use MaaS. Focusing on tourists, it is a bit challenging to engage them towards mobility as a service. Since we have the arrival of new tourists in a destination every some days, this means that we need to inform them about MaaS and the options provided through it. So ambitious marketing activities are required to be put in place in order to inform the touristic audience about the mobility service well in advance. Finally, one more challenge is to encourage them to download and use one more app in their mobile phones just for a short period of time. This was found not to be so attractive for tourists. As for the implementation challenges, we have categorized them in 3 main categories: business, technological, and policy challenges. As you can see, the technological challenges are less from the other 2 categories, and mainly we can summarize them in the fact that a lot of mobility service providers did not have the application programming interfaces that are needed in order to implement MaaS, and in some destinations the public transportation still relied in paper-based tickets, which was a challenge for mobility as a service. On the business side, the major challenges were related to the collaboration between the different actors. Some of them did not have trust among for the other actors, but also for the MaaS operator, but also the new business models, and the fact that MaaS is a new concept with uncertain profit made the actors reluctant to invest in this new concept. As for the policy aspect, it was found that we need updated regulations in order to clarify the rules for this data sharing and the collaboration among the different stakeholders in the scheme. So these are some recommendations on how to make mobility as a service succeed in touristic destination. First of all, it should be clear that there are different challenges based on the area characteristics. Thus, mobility as a service needs to be adapted according to the specific needs of each context. If MaaS does not work in one area, this does not mean that it will not work in other areas. Secondly, there are several open issues that need to be addressed to support the successful MaaS deployment. So we need to have the collaboration of transport operators, authorities, policymakers, but also of the society for a successful MaaS. The third key finding is related to the awareness among tourists about MaaS. Since tourists are a mobile and constantly changing target group, we need to implement wide media campaigns and conduct communication and marketing efforts to increase their awareness on MaaS. And last but not least, it is important to have the support of the local community. It is important to inform the local stakeholders about MaaS and its benefits for the business but also for the customers. We should not underestimate the power of local people and should put much effort on making them familiar with the concept of MaaS in order to have their support. Thank you very much for your attention.